Alright, we're going to start shading, and I've already taught you how to create your ribbon with these steps, so now you have your ribbon, and we're going to start shading it to make it look really three-dimensional. So as your paper says, wherever your ribbon goes back, it's going to have a shadow. Shadows make things look like they're pushing back, pushing back. So when I refer to push and pull, I'm referring to shadows and highlights. Wherever there's a shadow, that's where it pushes back. So I've created that shadow here. I'm going to create another one over here because it pushes back, and I'm going to do that by shading really neatly. I'm not shading in like these broad strokes. I'm shading very neatly in small sections, using not totally the side of my pencil, but kind of the side point, if that makes sense. So I'm shading in one direction, but I don't want it to start to look like, you know that effect when you shade or color a marker and then you color back over it and you see a line where the two met? I don't want that to happen with my pencils. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go back in kind of an opposite direction at a diagonal, and that's going to help me to smooth out my shades so I don't get that weird scratchy overlapping effect. And I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going back in one direction. Oops, but we're starting to see a line between values, so I'm going to go back in a different direction, in the opposite diagonal. And it helps to blend those together. It's going to get lighter as it gets farther away. The hardest shadow is going to be right here, where this section overlaps this section, so it blocks the light, and we have that shadow. But it's probably going to get lighter as we get farther away. Keep going back and forth in one direction, and then going back in the opposite direction. I'm still making really small strokes with my pencil. Nothing wild and crazy. We don't want crazy shading like that bad example that I showed you. Notice that I'm getting lighter. It's smoothing out, looking really nice and smooth values. And I'm going to go back in that opposite direction again, smooth everything out. Make sure my value scales are right. And I have that ribbon. Okay, so that's where my push section is, where it is pushed back. Now I have these areas that pull forward towards you. So because these pull forward towards you, they're going to have a highlight. Now you need to make sure that this is lighter than this, otherwise they're going to blend in. So I'm just going to go back over here, making sure to keep smooth. Small strokes with my pencil. I can always go back and light and darken it, but it's harder to lighten it. If you press really hard and make it really dark, it's really hard to go back and erase that, but you can always make it darker. Okay, so here I'm using kind of the side of my pencil, going back and forth in different directions to smooth out my values. I might want to darken this a little more in the background even, now that I can compare them, so it makes it even darker, even nicer and crisper. And I'm going to have probably a highlight in this middle section, and you'll see the effect that that starts to have. Remember, my ribbon goes this way, so we kind of want to keep our values going this way because it will mimic the shape of the object. Going back in the opposite direction to smooth out those pencil lines that I see. And getting lighter and lighter for that highlight where it's towards that light source. Until it's really light. It's starting to come together. Make sure you don't see any strokes of your pencil because you've gone back in all directions to make it really nice and smooth. The reason we did a ribbon was just because it's really good practice. It has really good push and pull where it goes away and towards you. So it's good practice for that push and pull. And then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I refer to it in your other drawings. Okay, so now we have this really cool 3D effect. My values are super smooth because I went back and forth in different directions to smooth out my value, and now I can go ahead and do that section. So now I want you to try and do the same thing. Remember, I think I can, I think I can. You can do this. It might take a little practice, but I know you can do it.